Good morning everyone, welcome to Raj Malhotra IAS, welcome to our daily Hindu newspaper analysis. I hope everyone is fit and fine, right? Okay, I'm audible to everyone? Good morning everyone who have joined us, right? Chaliye, give me just 1 second, we will start our class for today. Okay guys, so I'm going to start the analysis for today. First of all, let's try to see what is there in our front page news, right? We did not wait, did what was right to help Sri Lanka, that is being told by our external affairs minister. I think everyone is aware of the situation that is right now going on. It is related to the IMF bailout package for Sri Lanka. And in this regard, India has given its assurance to Sri Lanka and given its assurance to IMF. This is the development that had come over it, and one thing we have to understand over here, that India, China and Japan are the lenders of Sri Lanka. If I call the top 3 lenders of Sri Lanka, these are India, China and Japan, right? So what stands here for us, what we can get out of this particular news, that we have to understand. It is very important in respect to the policy that we try to follow. The policy is neighborhood first, that is India's support for the island nations debt restructuring program. So you have to look into such type of things when you are reading the newspaper, that what can I get from this particular news. So here, what can I get from this particular news? That India is helping Sri Lanka. Along with it, it is a part of our neighborhood first policy. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind while reading the newspaper. I hope this point is clear to everyone, right? Chaliye. The next news is, charge sheets need not to be put in the public domain. Now this is a thing that has been reiterated by the Supreme Court, where they are saying the Supreme Court held the state is not obliged to provide the public free access to charge sheets by uploading them on police or government websites. भाई ये उसके ऊपर ड्यूटी नहीं है स्टेट की, that they have to give the access to the public in relation to the charge sheet. That has been said by the Supreme Court, right? तो ये चीज हमें जाननी बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है कि चार्जशीट को पब्लिक डोमेन में डालना ये स्टेट के ऊपर ऑब्लिगेटरी या मैंडेटरी नहीं है. सो दीज आर वी कुड से द फ्रंट पेज न्यूज फॉर टुडे. चलिए, मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. ओके, so I have highlighted this particular news. This particular news is related to the conflict that is going on between the LG and the Delhi CM. I think everyone is aware of this particular news, that there is a lot of conflict that is going on between the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and the CM of Delhi. Now, one of the conflict areas of the dispute were related to the government of Delhi sending a proposal to send their teachers for training in Finland. That is, they have their own education model and they wanted to dwell on it, and they had sent the proposal to, let's say, Lieutenant Governor. So it was returned twice by the Lieutenant Governor on the basis that they have to calculate the cost benefit analysis. Now again they have sent the proposal for the third time, considering all the situations, and they want this particular proposal to be solved. One thing we have to understand, that these are the points that you can write in your answers. Let's say if you have to write about improving the quality education in a country, then you can mention that teachers training programs needs to be held in certain countries like Finland, like Delhi government is doing. सो आप इस चीजों से अपने आंसर्स में वैल्यू एडिशन कर सकते हैं एंड यू कैन मेक श्योर दैट यू आर doing very well in your mains examination. So you can use these points in your mains answer. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Just you need to know the background of this particular news, that this was also one of the conflict areas of the dispute between the Delhi CM and the Lieutenant Governor. Right? Chaliye. Moving to the next part. Now, there are two important news that we have to understand over here. Visesvarya iron and steel plant that is located in Karnataka is finally gonna be ending. Very, very important. The Visesvarya iron and steel plant, we can write it as WISP as well. It would be ending after its historic journey of 105 years. Now, this particular steel plant was built by the then Mysore king by the name of Nalwadi Krishnaraja Vadiyar. If you have read about the modern history, you must be knowing about this particular thing, that before we had this Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan, it was basically the Wadiyar dynasty that was ruling, and after making sure that the British signed the subsidiary alliance, they installed a certain king of Wadiyar dynasty. So their Mysore kings were ruled by the Wadiyar dynasty, that is the present day Karnataka. तो उनके एक राजे ने ये बनाया था ऑन द एडवाइस ऑफ दीवान विशेषवर्या. दीवान का नाम क्या था? विशेषवर्या. उन्हीं के नाम पे ये बेसिकली आयरन एंड स्टील प्लांट एसोसिएटेड है. सो यू नीड टू बी नोइंग मोर एंड मोर अबाउट. इफ आई टॉक अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग, like this is the steel plant that was made by them in the year 1918. तो आप लोगों को क्या पढ़ना चाहिए? You need to be knowing about the kingdom of Mysore. You need to be knowing about the Anglo-Mysore wars. हाँ जी, कौन बता सकता है in the comment box there were how many Anglo-Mysore wars and when Mysore signed the subsidiary alliance system? Quickly write in the comment box. Chetu, if you know, write it in the comment box. So there were in total 4 Anglo-Mysore wars that we have to understand, and in around 1800, in the starting era of 1800, this particularly subsidiary alliance was signed by the Mysore kingdom and they became a protected states under the British Empire. So this is the important thing that we have to understand over here. It has also an important connection because Tipu Sultan was in contact with the French army that was that time led by Napoleon, and he wanted to make sure that his army is, let's say, had its preparation on the lines of the French army. So these things you have to understand when such type of news come into the picture. So you need to know about who built this plant, on whose advice, when was this plant built, which how many Anglo-Mysore wars were there, and what was the main thing behind Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. So this is a big news that we have to understand. End of an era, WISP to shut shop after 105 years, right? Chaliye. Moving on. Now, this is a very interesting news. Wayanad becomes country's first district to provide basic documents to all tribal people. So here the context is related to the welfare of the tribals. Very, very important. भाई हम हमेशा बात करते हैं कि ट्राइबल लोगों को हमें मेन स्ट्रीम सोसाइटी के अंदर इंटीग्रेट करना है. वी हैव टू मेक श्योर कि हम उन्हें आइसोलेशन पॉलिसी में नहीं रख रहे हैं, बट वी आर इंटीग्रेटिंग देम इन आवर मेन स्ट्रीम सोसाइटी. नाउ इन दिस रिगार्ड, this Wayanad district of Kerala has become the country's first district to provide basic documents. Now, when I talk about basic documents, what are those basic documents? These are Aadhaar cards, ration cards, birth death certificates, election ID card, bank account, and health insurance to all tribal people. And the name of the program under which they made sure that everyone had access to these basic tribal documents was the Akshay Big Campaign for Document Digitization Program. Very important. You can get a question like this in prelims as well. What is ABCD campaign? Akshay Big Campaign for Document Digitization Campaign. Now this thing is very interesting, where a lot of documents were provided to the tribal people so that they are able to avail the benefits like the rest of the country or the normal citizens are able to avail. I hope you get this basic news that Wayanad becomes country's first district to provide basic documents to all tribal people. Now you can use this in your mains answer as well. You can write a case study as well if you have to write it down, and how can we improve the welfare of the tribal people and what are the steps that have been taken by the various governments to improve the welfare of the tribal people. So you can mention these particular points in your answer and mention about the ABCD campaign. I think it makes sense that we have to read newspaper like this so that we are completely aware with our current affairs and we are able to replicate in our prelims and as well as in mains, right? Chaliye. Moving to the next part. Now, there was only one article that was very important for today. Let's try to see what is that particular article. Now, the article is related to the suicide committed by a sarpanch. सुसाइड कमिटेड बाय सरपंच. अभी एक सरपंच ने तेलंगाना डिस्ट्रिक्ट में एक सुसाइड कमिट हुआ है. नाउ व्हाट आर द प्रॉब्लम्स दैट आर बीइंग फेस्ड बाय सरपंच? दिस वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर एडिटोरियल. It is a very important editorial. If I talk about the problems that we are facing in the local institutions or the local self-government institutions, let's try to read more about this editorial. Okay. सबसे पहला इशू जो फेस कर रहा है ग्राम पंचायत को, it is the issue of the funding. Now one thing we have to understand, first understand that how gram panchayats receive funding. Let's try to understand. There are basically three sources of funds that are being received by panchayats. One is their own sources of revenue, very important. एक तो उनके खुद के रिसोर्सेज हैं, कोई टैक्सेशन होगा, दैट वुड बी डेलीगेटेड टू देम. सेकंड इज ग्रांट्स इन एड फ्रॉम सेंटर एंड स्टेट्स, grants in aid from center and states, and the third is discretionary or scheme based funds, and the third is scheme based funds. Now these are the sources of revenue that we generally see that is there at the whims of the, let's say, gram panchayats. Now what is the issue related to funding? What is that particular matter? Let's try to see. Okay, the major issue that has been facing in Telangana, if I talk about, or in various states, is the inordinate delay in transferring appropriate funds to panchayat stalls local development. In Telangana, this has forced Sarpanch to use private funds for panchayat activities to fulfill mandated targets and avoid public pressures. सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम जो इस टाइम पे फेस कर रहे हैं वो है डिले इन ट्रांसफरिंग द फंड्स, दैट इज फ्रॉम सेंटर एंड दी स्टेट्स. ये चीज समझनी बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. ओके, सो दिस थिंग यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट इनऑर्डिनेट डिले इन ट्रांसफरिंग अप्रूव्ड फंड्स. ये सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम थी क्योंकि उनको फंड्स टाइम पे नहीं मिल पा रहे थे, बिकॉज दे वर नॉट रिसीविंग द फंड्स. सो एज अ रिजल्ट क्या प्रॉब्लम हुई? Sarpanch were using their private funds. They were using their private funds in order to make sure that the local development or the local panchayat projects are not stalled and they are done in the time. Now, what is the second constraint that we have to understand? Whenever state government also give them the funds, state government जब उनको फंड भी दे देती है तब उनके ऊपर रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लग जाती हैं कि आपको फंड्स किस पर्टिकुलर यूज के लिए इसको आगे यूज करना है. फॉर व्हाट पर्पस दे हैव टू यूज दैट पर्टिकुलर फंड. नाउ दैट restrictions are given by the state governments. Let's try to understand. State governments often impose spending limits on various expenditures. This could include activities such as purchasing posters of national icons, refreshments for visiting dignitaries, and distributing sweets in a local school at national festivals. Moreover, in almost all the states, there is a system of double authorization for spending panchayat funds. Apart from Sarpanch, dispersal of payments requires bureaucratic concurrence. The Sarpanch and the Panchayat Secretary, who reports to BDO, must co-sign checks issued for the payments from the Panchayat's fund. I think everyone, किसी ना किसी ने हमेशा एक पंचायत जो वेब सीरीज आई थी उसे देखा होगा. Everyone must have seen the Panchayat web series. How the basically the Sarpanch and the Secretary are being pressurized to do the work of the state government. For what purpose they have to use the funds, and along with it they have to go to the block development offices a lot of time in order to make sure that they have the access to the funds. Now this is the basic problem that is being faced by the Sarpanch, mainly if we talk about all over the country. And one thing we have to understand, Sarpanch, they need to be in the good books of politicians and local bureaucrats if they want access to discretionary resources and timely disbursement of funds and be able to successfully execute any project or program in their village. The ability of the Sarpanch to exercise administrative control over local employee is also limited. The recruitment of local functionaries reporting to the panchayat, such as village watchmen or sweepers, is conducted at the district or the block level. Now the problem here is that if they have to appoint certain watchers or the sweepers as well, they don't have that particular authority, because that authority is given to, let's say, block level, or it is at the district level. So this is the basic thing that is halting the works, the issues that are being faced by the gram panchayats. इसके ऊपर और थोड़ा देखते हैं. This is not merely, if we talk about the working of the gram panchayats, let's try to understand. Section 37 of the Telangana Gram Panchayat allows DC to suspend and dismiss incumbent Sarpanch. अब सरपंच के ऊपर भी अगर हम बात करें, ज्यादा पावर किसके पास है? डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर्स के पास ज्यादा पावर है. Apart from the abuse of power, embezzlement or misconduct, the condition include mere refusal to carry out the orders of DC or commissioner or government for the proper working of the concerned gram panchayat. एक तो चीज है कि आप सरपंच को क्या कर रहे हो, आप उनको निकाल रहे हो, if they have misused or abused their power. But here in certain cases, if the work is not carried out by the Sarpanch according to the orders of the DC, then that Sarpanch can also be dismissed. As a result, it is resulting in the sorry state of affairs of the Sarpanch. So what are the issues? Let's try to sum it up. The one of the main issue is about the resources or the funding, where there is a delay of funds. Second, even if funds are available, they have restrictions on activities on which they could spend the money. Third thing, they have to get approval from block development officer. Third thing, it is very, very important to understand. And the fourth important thing is they are working under the shadow of the bureaucrats. They have to do the work according to the whims and the discretion of the bureaucrat. Otherwise, they are removed from their office. So as a result, this whole, if we talk about the picture, it is not looking good if we try to see what is happening at the local level. And as a result, this is the thing that is hindering the development of panchayats as well. We have to make sure that everything is sorted, funds are released on time, so that we do not see such cases of suicide that we have just witnessed in this particular case of Telangana. Right? So ये एक major problem है जो ये article discuss करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. कहीं ना कहीं फंडिंग होनी चाहिए, and it shall be the discretion of the local people and the Sarpanch who shall make sure that what is the requirement of the fund and on which things they shall be spending that particular money or the amount. I hope you are getting my point, right? ठीक है, Rajendra, we don't want to comment on this BJP or non-BJP thing, right? If you are preparing for UPSC prelims or mains, just try to remain away from this particular political aspects, right? कभी नहीं पता सरकार कब चेंज हो जाए, तो इतना क्रिटिसाइज मत कीजिए. आपका accent junior NTR, okay. Yesterday I was watching his interview. Might be I am able, or let's say influenced by his accent, right? Chalo, I think everyone is clear with this particular thing, and let's try to move to the next topic. Okay, there is nothing that much important over here. Moving to the next part. Okay, now one thing we have to understand, that there are a lot of YouTube celebrities, there are a lot of film stars, there are a lot of influencers as well that tries to promote certain advertisements. Now, if we talk about center has released certain guidelines for these particular persons mandating compulsory disclosure of monetary or material benefits of a product or a brand they are promoting through social media platforms. Failing to do so will attract a penalty of up to rupees 50 lakhs. So one thing we have to understand over here, government is trying to make sure that the people who are getting the money or the material advantage while promoting certain advantages, certain advertisements, they are mandatory complying that what is the material benefit they are getting, and if they are not able to do so, they have to pay the penalty of up to what, 50 lakhs. अगर violations होती हैं, then the penalty prescribed for the misleading advertisements under the Consumer Protection Act 2019 will be applicable. Basically, it is about making the consumer informed about their choices as well. If they are misleading something, so as a result, they would be apprehended under Consumer Protection Act 2019. और उस केस में सेंट्रल कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन अथॉरिटी पेनल्टी लगा सकती है 10 लाख की मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के ऊपर भी, एडवर्टाइजर्स के ऊपर भी और इंडोर्सर के ऊपर भी. ये चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है. अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं कि पेनल्टी किन किन के ऊपर लग सकती है, सो पेनल्टी कुड बी इम्पोज्ड ऑन द मैन्युफैक्चरर्स, एडवर्टाइजर्स एंड इंडोर्सर्स एज वेल, एंड फॉर रिपीटेड ऑफेंसेस the penalty can go up to 50 lakh. So this is the thing that we have to understand over here. The CCPA can also prohibit the endorser of a misleading advertisement from making any endorsements for up to 1 year, and for subsequent contravention, prohibition can be extended up to 3 years. There could be a penalty of the amount as well, and there could be restriction as well on the face of endorser, that he would not be able to endorse a particular thing for 1 year, and that could be extended up to 3 years. So यहां पे अगर हम बात करें, it is about the problem of misinformation, consumer protection, and we have to make sure that the advertisements are not misleading, and it is a responsibility of the person who is advertising as well. जो एडवर्टाइजमेंट कर भी रहा है उसकी भी तो जिम्मेवारी बनती है ना, कि जो चीज वो एंडोर्स कर रहा है एटलीस्ट उसका कोई साइड इफेक्ट्स ना हो और उसके कोई मिसलीडिंग कैंपेन ना हो. सो इट इज बेसिकली फॉर द जनरल प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ द कंज्यूमर्स. सो एज अ रिजल्ट इन दैट सिनारियो, विच एक्ट वुड बी enacted or which act would be applied, that is the CC Consumer Protection Act 2019, right? So this is the thing that we have to understand, right? तो ये चीज आपको अंडरस्टैंड करनी बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. चलिए जी, तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज थी इस पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन से. ओके, मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. नाउ दिस इज द पर्टिकुलर प्रॉब्लम दैट हैज बीन taken by the producers or the manufacturers, like government has banned the use of single use plastic. I think everyone is aware of it, and the manufacturers are being said that they have to make sure that the product they are now making shall be 90% biodegradable plastic, and they have to prove it as well. Now the producers and the manufacturers are saying that it takes around 2 years to actually prove कि whether their product is actually 90% biodegradable or not. So let's say last year they had banned the use of single use plastic. So how they would be able to make sure that their product is biodegradable plastic within, let's say, 6 months or 1 year? It almost takes 2 years to verify their product whether it is, let's say, 90% biodegradable plastic or not. So as a result, there is no clear cut guidelines that what needs to be done. As a result, manufacturers stare at uncertain future, as lack of coordination among multiple ministries has led to a log jam in the production of alternatives. तो इसकी वजह से क्या हो गया, बहुत ज्यादा लॉग जैम लग चुका है कि ऑल्टरनेटिव क्या होने चाहिए सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक को लेके. सो एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, दैट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन दिस पर्टिकुलर कंटेक्स्ट. जब हम बात करते हैं कि हमने प्लास्टिक वेस्ट के रूल्स इंट्रोड्यूस कर दिए, तो एक्चुअली में मैन्युफैक्चरर उन चीजों को क्यों नहीं बनाते हैं, वाई दे आर नॉट मेकिंग बायोडिग्रेडेबल प्लास्टिक मटेरियल्स? वन थिंग वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जब तक प्रॉपर रूल्स और गाइडलाइंस नहीं होंगी, हाउ कैन मैन्युफैक्चरर्स वुड बी एबल टू लेट्स से इनरोल दैट पर्टिकुलर गाइडलाइंस एंड मेक श्योर कि वो उन चीजों को अलाउ करते हैं और उनको प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. सो देयर इज अ क्लियर कट केस of uncoordination or no coordination among various ministries. I hope this point is clear to everyone and you are aware of the latest plastic waste management rules as well, where it has been now a new draft notification was given where it is now being said that in order to make sure manufacturers are able to meet their targets, they have now introduced EPR certificates. I think everyone must be aware of this particular thing, that is EPR certificates. Let's try to understand what is this EPR certificate. Let's say I am a producer, there is another producer. Both of them have been given certain targets like X amount of target. He is not able to achieve this target. He has achieved more than X number of targets. So he has this extra that he has achieved. Now he can trade this extra to this particular producer who has not been able to achieve their targets. So this is the concept of EPR certificates that have been recently introduced in the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2022. Now one thing we have to understand, this is something similar to what we had studied in Kyoto Protocol, if you know about it, where there was a provision for we could say provision for emission trading that also dealt in having certificates to achieve the targets for developed countries. I hope you are able to get this particular point, right? तो ये चीज आपको पता होनी चाहिए कि what is the concept of EPR certificates. चलिए जी, moving to the next part. Okay, then we have our world page news. Nothing similar is going on, right? Okay. This you have to understand that debt-ridden Pakistan also ready to meet all the IMF demands to revive bailout program. एक चीज अंडरस्टैंड करो कि जब बेल आउट प्रोग्राम की बात करी जाती है तो ऐसा नहीं कि IMF किसी को भी पैसा दे देगी. There have to be certain guidelines that has to be followed by the recipient country that is receiving the funds from IMF. Like इंडिया को भी जब IMF ने बेल आउट किया था, remember one thing, when India was bailed out from this International Monetary Fund in 1991, India had agreed that they would also be implementing LPG reforms, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. This was the thing that they made sure they would have to do in order to receive the aid and funding of IMF. अब इस कंटेक्स्ट में एक बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज आपके सामने आती है. आजकल क्या हो रहा है? Everyone is, let's say, the countries of our neighbors are certainly, we could say, short of dollars because of, let's say, COVID and other situations that is going on right now. So as a result, if they have to buy, let's say, oil from Gulf country, that has to be done in dollars. Now there is this international trade that happens in dollar. As a result, IMF provides dollars and as a result they are able to receive their bailout. One thing we have to understand that now in this context, countries are start looking for other alternatives, that they are trying to make sure that कोई भी पेमेंट करनी हो, जैसे इंडिया के साथ अभी काफी बार देखने को मिला है, कंट्रीज साइन कर रही है जहां पे पेमेंट किसके अंदर हो सके, रुपीस के अंदर हो सके. Like India and UAE also discussing non-oil trade in rupee currency. So one thing that would happen over here is, एक तो जब ट्रेड होगा तो वॉलिटिलिटी कम हो जाएगी, डॉलर के प्राइसेस ऊपर नीचे होते रहते हैं. And second thing, that they would not have to receive then help from International Monetary Fund, because this monetary fund comes with certain conditions and demand of International Monetary Fund. I hope this point is clear to everyone and is aware of the things that happened to India in 1991. Before that we were a closed economy, more of a closed economy, but after 1991 there was a clear cut change and we shifted from a closed economy to an open economy, right? So this is a particular thing that you have to understand over here. Chaliye, Moving to the next part. Okay, then we have our economics page, nothing that much important over here. Okay guys, this is it for today. ठीक है जी, ये हमारे फुटबॉलर भाई साहब हैं, ठीक है. This is it for today. I hope you were able to understand and you get to know how you have to read the newspaper. You have to link it with your static part so that you are able to get an idea that how you have to integrate in your notes as well. Let's say today I discussed a certain steel plant that was opened in Mysore. So you need to be knowing about the history of Mysore as well. Second thing you need to know, Wayanad becomes the first district to give basic benefits to all tribal people like Aadhaar card, ration card, election card and everything that was distributed. So this you can write in your mains answer related to tribal integration. Then you discussed problems with the panchayat system related to funding. Now this you can write in your answers if ever there is a question, and I am telling you this is a very serious issue and you can expect the question in the mains related to the suicide that has happened over the issue of funding that Gram Panchayats receive. So this is also a very important aspect that you have to understand, right? So these were the main news that I can recall were there from today's newspaper. So guys, thank you so much and see you Monday same time 9 AM. Till then, take care, bye bye. And if you want to enjoy more of these current affairs, not only from Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, Down to Earth, Yojana, everything, there is only a one-stop solution for you guys. It is Ignited Current Affairs batch that we run from 10 to 11 AM. It is a very holistic batch. We take weekly tests. There is a daily main subjective answer, daily MCQs that are provided to you, and it is a lifetime opportunity. If you want to avail the benefits of that particular batch, you can go on to our number in the description and ask for the subscription. That is at a very nominal price. Take the classes and you will see the difference that you have right now in your preparation for current affairs. So thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye. I will see you on Monday, same time 9 AM. और संडे का न्यूज़पेपर जरूर पढ़ना है, उसको भी मिस नहीं करना है. थैंक यू सो मच.